Hello and welcome to the Content Byte, a podcast for anyone who uses their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a journalist, copywriter, content producer, and the founder of Rachel's List. And I'm joined today by the lovely Lynn Testoni, who joins me every week, actually. So regular listeners will probably be going, we know Lynn's there with you. But anyway, hi, Lynn.
Hello to everyone. I'm a journalist and a content producer as well. And we have a great guest today, Sara Tasker. I'm so excited because I'm a big fan of Sara's. I listen to her podcast all the time. And she's an expert on Instagram, which is definitely my favorite social media platform, but she manages to make it work so well. I'm a big fan and she knows so much and she shares her knowledge so generously, Rach.
Yeah, I love Instagram as well, but I fear that I'm not very good at it. I have been trying to put up some, what are those things, the little round circles that you do
the stories
under your bio, and you can save the certain stories that you want to save. I can't do any of that. But anyway, I'm going to read a little bit about Sara. She's an Instagram expert and creative business coach, a best-selling author, and host of the successful podcast #Authentic, which we just mentioned, where she shares Instagram strategies and support. And she runs courses and retreats on Instagram and has a whopping 200,000 plus followers, which is impressive by anyone's estimation, I think. So welcome to the Content Byte, Sara. It's so great to have you on, and we look forward to picking your brains.
Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully you can't hear, someone's just started drilling on my neighbour's house next door, just perfectly timed.
No, we can't hear anything. Hope you guys can't hear the Octonauts movie that's going on in the background in the other. I did ask him to turn it down, but you know what 6-year-olds are like.
This is real life. This is real life.
It is real life.
At least we don't have the budgie in here chirping. She's in another room. So
my budgie is in another room too. We're so professional.
We've moved the budgies out of the periphery, which is good. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yes. Well, gosh. So you're based in the UK. We know it's morning there for you, evening for us.
So tell us a bit, because you said you're in Yorkshire, Sara. Tell us a bit about Yorkshire.
So Yorkshire is in the north of the UK, well, north of England, I should say, and it's quite rural. We're in this tiny little village in the hills. We used to live in the city and we moved out here about 6 years ago, and no regrets at all. It is just a slower pace of life, which I love.
Wow, that sounds idyllic. I'm having that constant pull between the city and the beach at the moment. I'm at the beach at my parents' place, but I live in the city, and I always just think, do I move? What do I do? It's a really hard one.
So
yeah.
And are you in James Herriot country in the Yorkshire Dales?
We are in the peak, so it's a bit more hilly here.
Oh, I used to watch that show as a kid and I always wanted to go there.
It's equally as beautiful though, definitely very scenic. And it's quite funny because a lot of people think, oh well, you live somewhere so beautiful, Instagram must be so easy, no wonder you've got a big following. But I started my account living in a not very photogenic part of Manchester. It was like a lot of grey concrete and nothing else around me. And that was the thing that really focused my attention on finding the beauty to photograph around me, because I was sort of living in this house where I felt like I didn't belong. It didn't feel like home, but occasionally in the afternoon, the sun might come through the window and just shine on the windowsill in a certain way. And that tiny little tableau was something that I could capture and felt like home to me. And so I started my Instagram in a very unphotogenic place, and I want to reassure anyone who doesn't live in a beautiful picturesque village in the countryside that it's definitely not a requirement.
Oh, that's a lovely story. It's really about finding the beauty in what's around you, isn't it?
Absolutely. And in some ways, the constraint of there not being an awful lot of beauty around you made it easier. Now I'm like, oh yeah, it's another beautiful landscape right outside my window.
I remember though seeing something on your Instagram, it might have been last year, where you were saying, when you turned Instagram into your business, into your career sort of thing, it became so much harder to sort of feel that joy in the beauty and in taking the photos. Do you still feel that way, or have you kind of got your mojo back?
Yeah, I'd say it comes and goes. It is, especially because I teach Instagram, and I feel the pressure to model the strategies I teach my students, but sometimes you don't want to be strategic, right? Sometimes you just want to be able to just throw anything up and not care about how it performs. And I mean, it's all entirely in my own head, really. Like, I don't actually think anyone is there scrutinizing this, but it is keeping that balance of like strategy and intentionality, but also keeping that lightness and that joy and that creativity in there. And I'm always kind of finding the balance between the two.
Wow. I mean, I'm so interested to hear how you reached such dizzying heights of followers and everything in your whole career journey. And I know that you have a chronic illness as well, and that's sort of part of the journey that you've been on. Can you give us a bit of a thumbnail version or thumbnail tour through whistle stop tour through your career?
For sure. So I was actually working in our National Health Service as a speech therapist, and went on maternity leave with my daughter, and it felt like there's such a momentous time. Like, everything felt momentous. The little tiny baby grows that I'd washed in advance. You only do that with your first child, don't you? But like, I'd washed everything in advance. And they were all hanging up to dry, and like, I was like, gosh, the moments are skipping by so fast, and I wanted to pin them down. So I started this Instagram account. I called it Me and Orla, because that was the name of my daughter. And I set myself this challenge of doing one photo a day. And because I was like so tired between my health condition and having a new baby, I wasn't going to be pulling out my big camera that I used to play around with. So I just wanted to use my phone. So it was an iPhone photo a day on Instagram. And I set myself this little New Year's resolution to try and get 1,000 followers within the year. And by April, I think I was at like 30,000. Like, it exploded, and it kept growing. And along the way, like, because of the way my brain works, because of the things I'd always been interested in, I was really like interested in what worked and what didn't. Like, why did some things work? Why did other things not work? And kind of scrutinizing, analyzing, learning as I went along. And I found that when I talked about that, everybody was so interested to hear what I'd learned, and really kind of able to use the things I'd learned to apply to their own platforms and grow as well. So that was really how I started this whole business of educating other people on social media and how to kind of do it the way I did.
So I'm guessing things changed, but I'm guessing things have changed a lot since, you noticed what had worked at 30,000 followers to now. Like, it must be quite different as to what gets that engagement now. And
it is and it isn't. Like, the platform for sure is unrecognizable. Back then you could post a square picture, that was your only option, and like a caption, and that was it. There was no like stories and reels and IGTV and live. But I think the essence of it is still the same, which is it's about content that resonates. It's about value to the people who come across your page, and kind of creating something that's sticky, that people want to, once they find it, they want to keep you around. So yeah, the strategy side of it, kind of the technical strategy side of it, that keeps evolving, and I keep changing how I teach that. But the core part of it, like how to craft your message and create content that is compelling and also true for you, that's really stayed the same.
Oh, fair enough. What do you love about Instagram? What is it? Is it that joy of finding beauty in little bits and pieces, or what makes you love it? And how does it work?
Yeah. Like, for me, that was definitely the appeal. Like, I was finding people who saw the world like I did. And I think what's really unique about Instagram, if you think about all the other social media platforms, we use words. Like Twitter, you connect with words. Facebook, you connect with people you knew 30 years ago with words. Like, anywhere else, that's what leads. And you maybe can post a picture as well, but it's the words that do the talking. And Instagram's the opposite. Like, it's the pictures that do the talking. Some people never even read the captions, and if they do, that comes after. Like, you have to like the picture enough to click on it to read the caption before you ever get to the words. And there's just some magic in that. Like, when we connect visually with people, I think we get to know something different about one another. It's really hard for me to put it into words, but I've met people, like, I've been an early adopter of the internet my whole life, and I've met people from all sorts of like forums and MySpace and wherever we would congregate, and there would always be this disconnect where you would meet someone and then you'd meet them in real life and you'd be like, oh, okay, you're not quite how I expected you to be. Like, I have to kind of map these two people together. But when you meet people from Instagram, they are always exactly how you expected them to be. And I think that's down to the pictures.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I know you mentioned things have changed so much since you started and to now, and it's all reels and stories and this and that. And I personally am finding my feed, I actually just tweeted about it saying I woke up and my feed was just full of videos and people moving and talking and the reels and the blah, blah. And I was like, I just want the pretty pictures. I just want how Instagram used to be. I mean, talk us through all of that new stuff. Is it important? Can we just post pretty pictures and still get engagement? Or do we need to be doing all this other, I don't want to say crap, but probably isn't crap, but that's what it feels like to me. I just want the old Instagram, you know, I'm a purist.
Yeah, it was beautiful in its simplicity for sure. And I'm with you that I'm not a video person. I don't want noise and movement. I just want a quiet picture that I can consume in my own time. But I'm not a big fan of shoulds. And I think that there's a lot of people out there teaching Instagram who will tell you very prescriptively that you have to show up on stories X amount of times a day and you have to use this feature and you have to do this. And sure, it will work in the short term, but how sustainable is it for someone like you or I, Rachel, who isn't a fan of that medium and isn't a fan of that content? So are there advantages to using something like Reels? Right now, absolutely. It's brand new and we know Instagram are funneling a lot of eyeballs in that direction. So a lot of people are seeing reduced reach on their grid posts right now because Instagram wants all of the people over on Reels so that they can say their new part of their business is a success and show their shareholders impressive numbers, etc. So like if you enjoy it, for sure, go for it right now and you will see tremendous growth from it. But if it's not you and if it's not part of how you feel comfortable showing up online, I don't think it's a healthy thing to force yourself to try and squeeze yourself into that mold. And I've seen a lot of people go through this where they find something that works. They feel like they have to follow it at the cost of everything else. And 6 months, a year down the line, they've created something that either isn't sustainable for them or it's not what they want. It's not what they need to promote their work, to grow their business, because they followed the numbers rather than kind of setting out on a pre-planned course.
That's such good advice. And I just have to ask you, please explain, just talk us through the whole stories thing. And, you know, is there a rule of thumb? Why do you put it on your stories and not your feed? And do stories disappear like Snapchat or?
Yeah. So they last 24 hours, stories. Mm-hmm. So kind of think of that. That's like your more ephemeral, more chit chat kind of stuff that you don't necessarily need to keep around for forever. So I always think like the best way to get to grips with any part of the platform is to find someone who uses it well and just watch what they do. And there'll be different people using it in different ways, but most commonly the most successful way people use stories is they just share their day. So like they get up and they're like, oh, hi, I'm just talking to you while I'm doing my makeup. And then maybe they go out somewhere, so they share pictures where they're at. Maybe they come back and do some work and they share what they're working on. And people love that community. Like they feel like they're with you and they're hanging out with you.
Does it seem a bit more
day.
real and a bit more honest, the stories, because it's less curated?
Yes, generally that's kind of what people say. They use it as a place to be less curated. People enjoy it because it is less curated. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people will do is they'll follow just for stories. So there's a whole subsection of Instagram now where people only watch stories. They'll get up in the morning and they just, you know, you have that stories feed across the top where it's like lined up people, and they'll just turn it on and just watch everybody's stories, which is unthinkable to me. Like that is not how I use Instagram at all. But there's now like a place for everybody in there, which I think is kind of wonderful.
Well, my 17-year-old likes stories. She probably focuses on stories more than her feed now, I've noticed. She doesn't post a lot to her feed at all.
Yeah. And I think you're right to say like the feed has become this place where we feel a little bit more gravity, like it sticks around. And I think there's a pressure sometimes to be a bit more perfectionist when it comes to our feed because of that. Whereas stories gives everyone the freedom to kind of, it would be pointless to put too much time in because at most it's going to be seen for 24 hours, unless you put it, as Rachel said at the beginning, in those story highlights. But that's a separate thing.
Wow, you've made me really think differently about it and what I could possibly do in the stories. But do you think if I don't use them, which I actually don't, and I've just been trying this week and failing hopelessly at it, but do you think I could be missing out, you know, I'm leaving followers on the table, so to speak, by not, you know, mastering that aspect of the platform? Like I could be building my followers a lot faster if I did more stories.
Generally not with stories. Mm-hmm. If you think about how people use stories, we watch them of people we already follow, but not many people will go onto their explore page and watch the stories of strangers to see what's on there, because we can't get a sense of it until it's playing and you've no idea what you're going to get. So most people I speak to don't find new people to follow through stories.
But they might get to know them better. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. So like deepen your relationship with someone once you're already following. Reels, on the other hand, is absolutely a way that you could be growing. And it's difficult to put into words the difference between Reels and stories, I suppose. Reels is much more like it's a permanent piece of video content. And I mean, it's basically Instagram ripping off TikTok. They're just trying to recreate what goes on that platform. So there's a lot of comedy, but there's a lot of also like short educational sound bites, little inspirational bits of things, people dancing. I seem to see a lot of people dancing on my explore page, which is not what I was looking for.
So where do the reels sit though? Like where do they sit somewhere on your feed or in your Instagram?
Yeah, they appear on your grid right now.
Okay.
Yeah, they appear as a grid post, but they also appear to other people elsewhere in the app via all sorts of different discovery channels. And that's where a lot of the growth is coming from. And also probably Instagram are pushing them in home feed. So if you follow someone and they've created a reel, you're much more likely to see that than you are if they just created a picture for their grid right now.
Wow, that's amazing. Like in 5 minutes, you've just taught me more about Instagram.
That's good. That's the plan, Rachel.
I feel all inspired now. I'll be seeing you guys later. I'm just going to go and dominate Instagram now. No,
amazing. It's the dancing video. It's coming.
Yeah, just look out for my reel in about half an hour.
So if you think about what are the key things people need to know about Instagram if they want to use it to promote their business, are there any things you should avoid?
Definitely avoid the trap of building something that's not sustainable, like we talked about. So it's that balance of kind of, you need to follow the numbers in the sense of pay attention to what works. So you're posting maybe a range of content and suddenly you post something and it kind of explodes.
Yeah.
Pay attention, notice what it is about that brings in all that additional attention, whether it's comments, whether it's likes, whether it's people saving the post, which you can see under your analytics, and work out how you can provide more of that. But don't feel like that's the be all and end all. This is the balance I'm always trying to teach. And this is why I have like a 6-week course for people to learn it, because if you only do that all the time, you've left no space for the rest of your creativity and you've left no space to find the next thing that also creates that traction. So you want to kind of have an idea of what works and gradually build that over time. Usually the way to find that is to just think about what's going to be really valuable to your audience. So rather than thinking of it as like a broadcast platform where we're Beyonce and we're just telling everyone about how wonderful our life is, it's much more like, what do people want to know that I can share? And that could just be, you know, a funny joke or some inspiration, or like, you know, how ridiculously awful your morning has gone. But it could also be a bit of an educational thing. You could be sharing tips or tricks. You could be sharing like insights into what you're working on, your working process, how you plan. There are infinite ways to do it.
Yeah.
But as soon as you create something that's valuable to other people, you're going to find that they keep coming back, that they save it, that they share it, they pass it on to their friends. And that's how you can build that real magnetic traction.
Oh, that's interesting. All
so
right.
interesting. I would love to know a bit more about your process. Like, do you plan very far ahead, but obviously have it a bit fluid so you can, you know, have those pockets of creativity? And do you use specific tools?
So I use a planning app. The one I use is called Mosaico. And I think it's like probably about $5 or something in the App Store. And what it allows you to do is you can drop in all of your photographs, all of your video, whatever you're going to be posting, and plan how they're going to sit side by side. You can draft like captions in advance. You can even plan your hashtags. So that's as far as I go with planning. I'm not a massively organized person. Right now, I'm kind of in a place where because my Instagram is so big, I've built it to this point. I'm able to use it as and when I need to or feel driven to. So I don't feel like I have to show up like on a consistent schedule like I would have done a few years ago. Now it's very much kind of ad hoc. But if you're building something and you're trying to build traction, it's a really great idea to kind of pick a few days a week where you're going to show up, have a loose strategy. But like you say, you want to be able to keep that creativity in. So in my planning app, I can always just be like, oh, I've taken this awesome picture today, or I'm burning to talk about something else, and just rejig it and kind of play around with how things are going to sit.
So do you post from that app, or is it just a planning app?
You can post directly from the app. I actually don't recommend that you do, purely because Instagram released a statement a couple of years ago where they said to people, not to. And you're always trying to read between the lines whenever Instagram gives an official line on something. Like, it might be fine, or it might be that they view that slightly differently and it treats it slightly differently within the algorithms. So if in doubt, like, I just think it's easier to not. So I just post. You can post directly from the app and be fine. Or I quite often will just save. I already have the image saved, so I just copy the caption and the hashtags and go and do it. And it's, an extra 10 seconds, but it's probably worth it.
That's really interesting. I post directly from Buffer and sometimes from my phone, but
like, I don't want to start conspiracy theories here. It may well be fine. It could be interesting for you to try doing both and just see if there is any difference or not. They may have just said it because there's a chance for people to use third-party apps that aren't legit and to compromise their account. There's a lot of reasons they might have said it, but they never say anything for no reason, if that makes sense. Like, if they've gone to the trouble of putting that out there must be something going on behind the scenes that's made them think it's necessary.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I've been seeing a lot is actually quite a lot of my friends have been hacked on Instagram, and a few have had their accounts stolen and things, particularly those that are starting to do quite well. Are there tips you should do to prevent that?
Yes, 100%. I'm so glad you brought this up, Lynn, because it's so easy to avoid if you know. So everyone listening right now, pick up your phone if you're not driving and go into your settings and turn on two-factor authentication, which means that if anyone tries to log into your account, Instagram will send you a text message and you'll have to share a code. And it just means that as well as knowing your email address, they have to have access to your phone, which is basically impossible for most hackers. The other thing to be really wary of is this happens via phishing. So people will send an email that looks like it's from Instagram. Often they'll say we want to verify you, or we've noticed some suspicious activity on your account, and you believe it's legitimate. You click the link, you log in, and they've got your password. So if you've got your email address in your bio, make sure it's a different email address to the one you've registered the account with. So if you you have a special email account for people to email you from your Instagram, because that way then if you get an email to that account, it's not from Instagram because it's not the one you've registered with.
Interesting.
Well, that's really good tips.
They're great tips.
Yeah. We have, you obviously would know, Sarah, that we have heaps of freelancers who listen to us, and a lot of them are content writers or journalists or freelancers of some kind, who would be using Instagram and wondering if it's a good platform for them to get work. Would you agree that it is a good platform for freelancers? And what would be your tips for freelancers who want to try and get work through it?
Yeah, I know personally so many freelancers who use Instagram as kind of their primary content selling tool, I suppose. And it can be difficult, I think, if you're a writer. It's not immediately obvious what you should be sharing because it's not as visual as, say, if you're a ceramicist, where your work is photogenic in itself.
God, I love ceramicists. I follow all of them.
Same. Oh my God, my kitchen is just full of Instagram ceramics.
Lynn and I actually have a date to go ceramic shopping next week.
Just make sure you Instagram it. Get that on Instagram. My God, stories the whole day.
We'll do a story.
No, several stories.
Okay. All right.
Not just one. So I think the first step is that just showing that you work, showing that you do the work. It's amazing how many people are really passive about it and feel well, I've posted pictures of my kids in a coffee shop. Why has no one booked me? You need to show work you've done. So if you've got something published somewhere, share that on Instagram. If you're writing something, take a picture of yourself writing or typing or however you're in a coffee shop, whatever you're doing, and talk about the commission or whatever it is you're working on. Make sure in your bio it says, I am available to write your or to do the following work. Email me or click the link. Spell it out for people, and don't assume that everyone who follows you already knows. So it's almost like a question of reintroducing it again and again. Find natural, organic, you don't have to do a hard sell, but ways to keep reminding people hey, I can do this for you. So if you're a content writer, you can be sharing tips for people who are struggling with their content, or sharing client testimonials or ways that you've helped other people build their businesses because they've not been able to outsource the content writing. Tell the story of your work and your business in a way that's going to be interesting to the people who you want to pay you.
I guess also one thing we haven't touched on, and I did listen to one of your recent podcasts talking a little bit about, it's probably good to have a business account, isn't it? It's quite easy to change a personal account to a business account, and Instagram doesn't really penalize you either, do they?
No, not at all. Totally free to switch. I think a lot of people are scared because we know Facebook historically handled the switch from personal accounts to business accounts quite badly and limited a lot of the business accounts in terms of visibility, started to make them pay to be seen. Instagram does not treat it the same way. I think they've probably learned from the epic mistakes that happened when Facebook did that. So you won't see any negative consequences of switching at all. I've got thousands of students who've done it and seen no problems. And what you get is access to much more detailed statistics. So you're able to kind of see who's saving your posts, how many people are sending it to their friends, like all of that metrics, which is really helpful for what we talked about earlier of just discerning what's going to be appealing content to your audience. And you also get the ability to add extra kind of buttons and contact information to your bio. So you can have call me, you can have email me directly in there. You can have like sell tickets if you're selling an event. And so it just gives you that extra way of connecting with people. And also, I think a little bit more legitimacy, like people understand you're a genuine business because it's a business account.
Yeah, it's a good tip. Yeah. And it's very easy to switch. I mean, I switched mine ages ago and I was quite surprised how easy it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
no tech skills required.
No.
And the other thing is then you can use ads. So if you wanted to sort of advertise a service or a freebie you created or anything like that, you're able to then just pay a few dollars and boost the post within the app as well.
Yeah. Have things changed? I mean, the whole world has changed this year since this pandemic, whether you're in Yorkshire or in Sydney. What sort of things have you seen on Instagram because of the pandemic?
Yeah, it's been interesting, hasn't it? It's been a way of kind of monitoring like the waves of social change that the pandemic has brought across. So at first we saw some amazing like community building activities. Like one of my friends was doing like a weekly pub quiz via Instagram where everyone could just come and she'd read out the questions and then like share the answers, and a lot of lovely, wonderful community things very early on. But I think one of the most interesting trends I've seen of it is like, it's really shifted our attention to like, who is interesting when nothing interesting is going on. So, you know, like the whole world of influencers, like it's very easy to be interesting if you're traveling to exotic locations every week and walking around gorgeous shops or like, you know, in every trendy coffee shop in town. But when you're stuck at home in the same four walls, who's still got something that's worth our time, who's still creating something that we want to see. And I think that's probably been quite a healthy sort of wholesome shift for us to back to thinking about like the people we follow rather than sort of the consumerist side of it.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
That's so true. Look, I know that you've written a book and we've talked about your podcast. Tell us a little bit about, you know, for people who don't follow you on Instagram or this is the first time they've heard about you, tell us a bit about your book and about the podcast and also a little bit about the courses that you do.
Sure. So my book and my podcast are both called #Authentic, which was kind of like, sometimes I regret this title. It was a bit of a joke because like you will see people hashtag things authentic on Instagram and they're anything but. They're always like, you know,
very
so
contrived.
artificial. Yeah. Yes. So the podcast I started, it called it #Authentic, to sort of talk about that whole concept and what authenticity really is. It's really just a space where I interview other creatives, other business owners, and talk about how they're using social media, what's working for them, and lessons they've learned along the way. And also I kind of do some solo episodes which are a bit more teachy, and I sort of share strategies for various things in your creative work. And then the book came about from the podcast, and it is a guide to Instagram for creatives who want to build community. So it's not like hardcore tech strategy. It's much more like, how can you marry your creativity with this desire to serve a community? How can you find the content in your daily life? The biggest bit of feedback I get on it is people say it's made them fall in love with Instagram again. So I feel like that's a good thing to have created. Sometimes I wish I could read it for myself and get the same effect when I'm having a bad day with Instagram.
I'm reading that book. I need that book. But what you need to do now is you need to write a sequel that has all the technical stuff in it.
Yeah, but the problem with that is it ages so quickly.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So like as a printed book, by the time it got to press, even with mine, by the time it got to press, I was like, damn it, they've changed that thing. And now I wrote that you need this app and you don't anymore. So and so that's kind of where the courses come in, really. Like I wanted to have a book. I wanted it to be a really accessible price point so that anyone could get it. And I put as much free stuff out as I can. So do go to my website, listen to my podcast if you just want some free help. But the class is a real deep dive. It's called the Insta Retreat. And we spend 6 weeks really everything we've talked about today, like figuring out what it is your audience wants to see, how you can share it in a way that feels fun and creative and joyful to you, and then all of the strategies, how you hashtag it, how you, when you post it, all of that kind of stuff, so that you've got a comprehensive strategy that doesn't take you like 4 hours a day. I try and get everyone to do it within half an hour a day, because I think that's, you know, we didn't get into these jobs to be full-time Instagrammers or full-time like photographers. Most of us just want it to be something that we can do, have kind of a light touch with it, and then get on with the rest of our work. So I have that. I also have another class called 15-Minute Magic, which is kind of a different slant, but it's for people who have a creative business and are struggling with procrastination. And it's all about like how you can manage your mind to get in there and get your stuff done and make some money.
That's a great idea. I must say, with your podcast, I love, one of the things I love about it is you often have people who have done your Insta retreat, and they talk about how Instagram has helped their business, and they're quite diverse businesses, aren't they?
Yeah, we have some, like one of everything through the Insta retreat, and I think pretty much every continent, with the exception of Antarctica. We've never had anyone. So if you're listening, Antarctica, we'd love to have you.
Cover all the continents.
Yeah, and like I love to do that because I love to, like, obviously to support my students and to give them that extra boost of exposure. But I think it also is like a really good lesson in there is no one size fits all formula. And it's so easy when you look at the app and you're like, okay, everyone is doing this. I have to do this too, even if I hate it. And so I love giving people the chance to hear from different voices who are doing it in different ways, pursuing different goals, different endpoints, and finding a way to make it work for them, because I think it's a healthy reminder that it's still all possible.
I think that's so true. And I think that with Instagram, particularly as a platform, it really is something where you can bounce off another person and say, what would you be doing, you know, with this feed, or what do you think? And someone will give you a totally different perspective on what they would do. Because Lynn and I have often talked about that, you know, we sometimes have social media clients and we're like, how would you approach that feed and what would you do differently or make fresh or something? And she might have a totally different idea than I would, and vice versa. That's why I love the idea of a course and somebody saying, you could do this. And, you know, I'm imagining your courses, people get together in groups and perhaps discuss and share.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
we do these weekly like live Zooms as a group, and people will always submit questions and they'll be like, you know, I just can't, there's no way for me to show this of my work. Like there's just no way to photograph it. And then everyone will pile in and you'll end up with like 4 pages of A4 of ideas for content creation. And that's the beautiful thing. Like it's like crowdsourcing, but within a group of like-minded people. So you're not crowdsourcing to people who've got no right to be giving you advice on your business. These are the people who would actually be following and buying from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very interesting.
That sounds so useful. And a safe place as well, where you feel okay talking about that stuff. And
yeah, because it's all so vulnerable, really. Like this is our life that we're putting online. It's our creativity. And when it doesn't perform well, like there is a mental health side to it where I think a lot of us can feel like it's a judgment on us as humans rather than just a judgment on a piece of content that we've put into an algorithmic system that is not entirely democratic.
Yes. Oh, that sounds so good. Because it can, Instagram particularly does feel quite personal, and it's very hard to sometimes not take it personally if people don't love what you're doing or whatever.
Yeah, completely. And so it's that piece of like, can you still love your work even if the rest of the world isn't telling you that they do? Like that's a really important thing for any creative, I think.
So what's your goal? 300,000 followers? Your next goal?
Oh, I don't know. Do you know what I think my next goal is? And this is so off brand for me, but I think I want to make £1 million within 1 year, but I want to do it in a really soulful, sustainable, non-spammy way. And I want to know if that's possible, because I don't see anyone doing it. Like most people are kind of going down the really aggressive sales funnel webinar route. And so I'm just really interested to see if I can grow my business in that way without having to compromise on any of my values, because that's a no-brainer for me. That's not happening.
Do you find, like, because you have so many followers, the kind of rates you can charge, they've just jumped up so much more? Like you get to a certain point where you can just effortlessly charge. I know Kim Kardashian charges $1 million per Instagram post. I was just writing about that.
Do you know, I don't think effortlessly charging more ever happens, or maybe it does when you're a Kardashian, but I think the same drama comes up for everybody. And you would think, wouldn't you? Like, I think I thought that once I get to X number of followers, all of that self-doubt, all of that internal drama will disappear. Sadly, I have not reached the number of followers yet. I suspect it doesn't happen. I thought it might happen if I got the little blue verified tick. Nope. Turns out I'm still the same person with all the same thoughts I was before. Deeply disappointing. So yeah, like your rates do improve. Like the more social proof you can show that, you know, that people are interested in your work and your statistics are good, it all helps. But in the end, it's about how much you value your worth and your time, and that'll be the thing that gets in the way of you charging more.
Mm-hmm. Well, I look forward to the £1 million book and how you did it, because I fully think you're going to do it.
Well, thank you. I'll fly over to Australia in my private jet and we'll celebrate.
Yeah, that would be nice. Lynn and I will take you out for cocktails. I think we've offered that to a lot of guests, haven't we?
Yeah, we do.
Excellent.
Everyone wants to come to Sydney when this is all over, and we can take everyone out to cocktails, because it would be very nice.
I miss Sydney. I had a wonderful time there a few years ago, so I'll be there.
Okay, well, the invitation is definitely open.
It is. Oh, thank you so much, Sarah, for talking to us today and for all your amazing wisdom.
Thank you. This was so fun.
Yeah,
it was lovely.
I feel very inspired. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Oh, that brings us to the end of our show, but I have a nice warm fuzzy feeling inside. Thank you, Sarah, because I love your podcast and I love your Instagram feed, because it does have that lovely sense of warmth and kindness in it, and it is everything that Instagram should be when you look at it and feel good about it. So thank you very much. And thanks to everyone who's been listening and sharing us on social media, including Instagram. I'm really going to get better at the Content Byte's Instagram feed now. But so if you like the show, don't forget to leave a rating, review on iTunes and Stitcher. And of course, Spotify is the big rising star on podcasts as well.
And we will pop all of the information about Sarah into the show notes, and where you can find out about her book and her podcast and her amazing courses. And
because I think your Insta retreat, Sarah, you don't have to be in England, do you, to do that?
Oh no, absolutely everywhere around the world except Antarctica.
Fair enough.
Well, thanks again. Okay, everybody, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.